Now on to our second speaker of the evening, Ms. Ellen Rohan. She will be on pathway number 2, project communication styles. Her path is effective coaching. Project title, power and beauty of unspoken community. The project, Madam Timer, it is 5 to 7 minutes. Project person, purpose, learn about difficult styles of communication. Subject of the speech, other types of communication other than spoken. Ms. Ellen Rohan, power and beauty of unspoken communication. Ellen Rohan.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. The topic of my speech tonight is called The Power and Beauty of Unspoken Communication. Effective communication isn't always spoken. Webster's dictionary describes the word communication as the exchange of information amongst individuals. Effective communication is vital in every aspect of life, work, relationships, school. When we think of communication, most of us think of verbal communication. Along with words, verbal communication can include vocal tone, facial expressions, body language, vocal variety. All of those are part of verbal communication. But tonight I wanted to talk about another type of communication. Not all types of communication are spoken. And tonight I would like to talk about the power and beauty of unspoken communication. I have a beautiful 27-year-old daughter named Melody. Melody suffers from a syndrome called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and has a severe developmental delay. Melody has never uttered a word and does not possess the intellect to learn sign language, but Melody is a very effective communicator. Melody communicates using a combination of guttural sounds, eyebrow movement, eye movement, eyebrow movement, body language, body slam when she needs to get your attention, and touch, and a combination of them all. She makes a guttural sound when she's happy that we call singing, and another guttural sound she makes that we call growling when she's upset or in pain. She also uses her sparkling green eyes and darling gap-toothed smile to express herself. One of the most profound examples of Melody's effective communication happened about 10 years ago. After Melody had basically had about 17 years of relative good health, despite her developmental delay, Melody developed a syndrome called toxic megacolon. Toxic megacolon happens when the colon stops working and becomes very distended and at risk of rupturing. Because Melody's colon was so large and not working at all, the only solution for her was a big operation called a total colectomy with ileostomy. Melody had to have her entire colon removed, and an ostomy was created at the area of the small bowel called the ileum. The surgery went well and Melody went home after about 10 days and everything seemed okay. Unfortunately, about 10 days later, Melody was rushed back to the hospital and rushed into an emergency surgery with a rare complication from her first surgery. Melody's rectum had ruptured. After that second surgery, Melody was in the hospital for 5 weeks. She developed blood clots in both arms, sepsis, and severe weight loss. Melody was frustrated, in pain, and discouraged. But there was one thing that Melody conveyed from the very beginning, and that was that she had steadfast grit to get better, and she was brave. At first, the nurses and caregivers were a little tentative to take care of her. It was very challenging for them to take care of a patient who could not follow commands or express their symptoms verbally. But Melody managed to communicate with her caregivers using her combination of sounds, her facial expressions, and touch. especially touch. One of my favorite memories of Melody's time in the hospital was the pure humanity of watching the personal care aides gently wash Melody's emaciated body, with Melody smiling and cooing lovingly back towards them. It got to the point where the aides liked taking care of Melody so much, they actually requested to take care of her. She expressed so much appreciation for their care, and they received as much from taking care of her as she did from them. Melody also worked diligently with her physical therapist to regain her strength and regain the ability to stand and walk. Getting Melody out of bed was extremely painful, and she would growl and grimace at us when we tried to get her up out of bed. But Melody never refused. Melody persevered. One of the highlights of the day would be when the physical therapist came to Melody's room, got her up out of bed, and she would take the long walk down the hall from her room to the nurse's station. Melody pushing her little walker, the pain of her 8-inch incision from her belly just etched in her tiny little face. It got to be where anyone in the hallways, nurses, doctors, personal care aides, even the housekeepers, would line the halls when Melody started to make her way down towards the nurse's station, painstakingly walking slowly and grimacing and growling. She made it to the nurse's station, and when she would hit the nurse's station, the nurses would pick up a bell and ring it, and the crowd in the hall would erupt with cheers and applause for Melody. After Melody had been in the hospital for about a month, one of her doctors pulled me aside and said, "You know, the entire surgical floor has fallen in love with your daughter." Unfortunately, that stay was the first of many stays for Melody. She has endured countless admissions and additional major abdominal surgeries. But every visit ends up the way the first one started. Melody wins over the hearts of all the people involved in her care. Her zest for life and her willingness to participate endures her to everyone who meets her. Imagine the communication skills and patience Melody must possess to try to communicate in a world where most people don't understand her. I'm constantly in awe of her ability and willingness to communicate with others without uttering a single word, reminding us that effective communication isn't always spoken. Thank you.
If you like this presentation and want to check us out, please go to toastmasters.org. Click on search for a club, find Helmsman Club 770, and we hope to see you soon.